Good morning to all of you.
Good morning,
Good
ma'am.
morning, ma'am.
Let me know if you can share this, see the screen. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, welcome to this sixth lecture under module 4. In the last lecture, we have seen how to work with the Java interface in order to read the data from a Hadoop URL and reading data using the file system API directly. And what is the importance of FS data input stream? How we can implement seekable and position readable interfaces under FS data input stream, and also how to write the data to a file on HDFS cluster, which is read from your local system, and FS data output stream, how it works, and why HDFS doesn't support random writes to a file, and how to work with directories. In today's class, we are going to see how to query the file system and using file metadata class, that is file status, and listing files and path filter, how to use the path filter, and finally deleting the data. Now, how to query the file system? If you want to interact with the file system, that can be done by using this file status class. An important feature of any file system is the ability to navigate its directory structure and retrieve information about the files and directories that it stores, right? Because this file system contains large amount of files, you should be able to retrieve the information about the files and directories that it stores by navigating through the file structure. That is why the file status class is used in this case. The file status class encapsulates file system metadata for files and directories, including it gives information including file length, what is the length of the file, block size, how the file is stored, what is the size of block into which the file is separated, and replication, how many copies of that file is stored, what is the replication factor for that file, and the modification time, when is the file last modified, who is the owner of that file, and what are the permissions granted for that file, permission information. Now, the method get file status on file system provides a way of getting a file status object for a single file or directory. You can get the you can use this get file status method, and you can get the file status object for a single file or a directory. Now, how to use this file status method? So let us demonstrate how to use this file status information. Now let us take a class show file status test, and in that let us declare two objects. One is for mini DFS cluster, that is the cluster object, and one is the file system object. This cluster object use an in-process HDFS cluster for testing. So whichever HDFS cluster is participating in the analysis process along with MapReduce, that cluster will be considered. Now, these are annotations. You know what is an annotation, right? They are like metadata, which gives us the details about what process is going on, what that particular following block actually does, but it is not included in the compilation or running of the file. Okay, so we are creating here a method setup which throws IO exception, and here we are creating the configuration object. Configuration object has to be created when you are working with this Hadoop file systems because it encapsulates client and server configuration. Now, if system get property, now through get property, you are getting this test.build.data is equal to null. If this entity is equal to null, then set the property to test build data with a temporary root. Now, use a new instance of this mini DFS cluster with the configuration object and giving the replication factor, and also passing two parameters, true and null. That is the property. Now this cluster object is used to get the file system, invoke the file system method. Cluster dot get file system. Now that file system is stored in this fs object. That is the file system object. Now you are creating an output output stream object, and you are creating a new path to the specified file in the specified directory. Okay, you're using the file system object to invoke the create method in order to create a path to the said file in the directory. Now using this output stream, you are writing the content by getting the bytes. This you are using here UTF encoding style. After that, after writing the content, you are closing the output stream. Now after this, what you're doing, you're trying to implement another method called as tear down method. This tear down method will help us to shut down any clusters that we are working on. So if fs equal to null, if the file system is equal to null, means all the data is written safely. After that, you have to close the file system object. And if the cluster is not equal to null, if the cluster is still running, then you have to shut down the cluster also. Why? Because you are trying to write the data to a file on the cluster. That is why once the task is completed, you are shutting down the cluster also. Now you are performing a testing now using file status method, get file status method. Public void throws file not found for non-existent file. Now you are just defining a defining a method which is indicated by the name throws file not found for non-existent file. So when a file is not existing, it should throw file not found exception, right? For that, it is we are defining this by giving a file status, by passing a file status rather than throwing file not found exception. We wanted to handle by ourselves by giving the file status as no such file. So we are using this file system object, get the file status, create a new path by the message no such file. Why? Because when you're trying to access that file, no such file is found, and you are handling that status by indicating no such file is found. Now again, one more test can be performed by using file status for the file. For this, you are creating a new path instance to the said directory and the file, and that you are storing it in the path path object. Now file status, for file status, you are creating another object, and you're getting the file status of this file, that is this object you're passing here, and getting that file status and storing it in the file status object stat. Now you're checking all the information. This assert that method will indicate that whether a specific value is equal to an expected value. See, this is the expected value, and this is a specific value. Whether both are true or whether both are matched or not is tested here. If both are matched, then we get the correct information. If both are not matched, then we are getting a wrong file status. That is what we mean here. For that, we are creating a file status object and connecting it to the file for which the file status is required. Now you are using assert that function, assert that method in order to check a specific value to an expected value. For that, you are using stat.getPath, that is the file status object.getPath. Get the path to the URI specified, and whether it is actually the directory and the file path that you specified. If both are matching, yes, our file status is proper. Now assert that again in the next case you are using status is directory. If there is a directory that you can access, then it returns true, otherwise it returns false. So that is matched with is false. If it is matching, there is no such directory found. If it is not matching, then if it is not matching, then there is no such directory found. Means if it returns false, if it returns false, then there is no such directory found. But if it returns true, then there is an existing directory. And assert that get the length of the file and compare it with the expected file length. Both are matching. Yes, you are accessing the correct file. Now assert that get the modification time, and if the modification time is matching with this system dot current time milliseconds. If that is less than or equal to this time, then you are accessing the right time, which is whose modification time is actually matching with the current time in milliseconds. Now assert that get the replication factor also. Now if the replication factor is matching with 1, that is what you have set for the file S, even the replication factor is matching. Now assert that get the block size. If the block size is according to what you expected, as you are accessing the correct file. Now get the owner name matches. Get the group if the group matches. And get the permissions of the file if the permissions of the file matches. Read, write, only, read, or append. Various permissions can be granted to a file. Now all these file permissions, if it matches with the current file status permissions, then if all these parameters matches, we can say that we are trying to access that exact file. We are trying to locate that exact file. Now we are using file status for directory also. In the previous case, you have used file status for a file. You check the file status for a file. Now we are trying to see the file status for a directory. So the same strategy we can adapt. Here we can take a new path, create a new path instance to the directory specified and store it in the get the file status for that directory, and all that information you store it in the file status object. Now using assert that method, you're trying to again match whether your retrieved status is matching with the exact original status of the directory or not. For that, you are checking get path to URI, get the path, whether the path is matching with the current directory path that you specified, and is the directory existing, is it true, and get the length. But directory doesn't have any length like file, so it should match with 0 bytes. And get the modification time. It matches with the current time milliseconds passed by the system. And if the replication factor is 0, because for files the replication factor can be 1 or 2 or 3, because the default replication factor is 3 and you are working in a pseudo distributed mode. Now initially in this case your replication factor you are checking with 1, you are matching with 1. But here, because it is a directory and you can't create replicated copies for directory, you are matching it with 0. So you are getting the replication factor of the directory status returned and matching whether the replication factor is 0. Now get the block size. Even the directories doesn't have any block sizes. Only files will be divided into blocks if you are storing with block abstraction. But directories can be divided into blocks, right? So when you get the block size, it should be equal to 0. And also get the owner of the directory, and the file will match, right? And owner, get the group also, group information, and get the permissions for that directory. This is same as your previous case. Now you are performing here a file status test for the file and a file status test for the directory by trying to match various parameters that are actually owned by the file and which are returned by the file get file status method. If both are matching, then your test is complete. You are trying to access the right file and the right directory. Now, if no file or directory exists, a file not found exception is thrown. This is a general case, right? We know this. And if we are interested only in the existence of a file or directory, in that case, you can use the exist method. The exist method on file system is more convenient. Why? Because we will know whether the file is existing or not. For that, it returns a Boolean value. If the file is existing, it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. Public Boolean exists, pass the path to the file to check whether that file is existing or not. And this throws IO exception. Now, how to list the files in a directory? Finding information on a single file or directory is useful, but you also often need to be able to list the contents of a directory. If you want to know what are all the contents in a directory, then you have to use this file system's list status method. This list status method belongs to the file system class. Okay, so this file system's list status method can be used in order to list the contents of a directory, and it has various overloaded versions. There are many versions for this. The first version is list status of a path to a single file, but it may return, if there are multiple paths, it may return array of the file status. Because you are taking here a single file, this single file has many parameters like replication factor, block size, permissions, owner of the file, group of the file to which it belongs. All this information is stored as array of file status, which indicates each parameter is stored in each index of this file. Each parameter, say replication factor is stored in file status 0 location, and block size is stored in file status 1 location. It is in that way. To a specific file that is mentioned, it is listing the status by taking all those parameter values into the file status array. Now, if you want to specify a path filter also, means if you want a set of paths to be specified, and if you want to filter out some file paths, in that case, you can give a regular expression as path filter object. Now, this will also return file status array, parameters as file status array. Now, you can sometimes use file paths itself as an array. Means instead of specifying a single file, you're specifying array of file paths here, and all those details are returned to a file status, and this file status will be now maintained as a two-dimensional array. One dimension mentions the file paths, and the other dimension mentions each file path's parameters, each file's parameters. Right? So here we are specifying a single file path. Here we are specifying array of file paths. That is why it returns two-dimensional file status. One dimension is for the file paths, and the other dimension is for the parameters for those each file mentioned in the file path. And also we can specify in this case path filter, so that whenever you want to filter certain file paths and want to access only specific file paths, that can be done by using the path filter. Again, the same thing. It will return a two-dimensional array, one indicating the file paths and the other indicating the parameters for each file path. Now, this is a small program. How to show the file status for a collection of paths in a Hadoop file system. For that, we are creating a list status file, and whatever we specify from the command line, the file path, that is taken as the argument vector 0f command line. This one, command line argument, and that is stored in the URI. See, in this case, we are specifying this entire file path, right? This is taken in as command line argument 0. That is your first command line argument, other than the file that you call, other than the class that you call, and that file name is taken into URI. Now you are also creating a configuration object, and when you're creating the file system object, you're getting this URI by passing the configuration object. Create the URI to this URI specified along with the configuration object, and get that path, get that details, and store it in the file system object. Now you're also creating new path array instance and storing it in the paths object. whatever are passed in the argument length. In this case, you are passing all these file paths, right? So the first one is stored in the path 0, path 1 and path 2. This is indicated as the first path mentioned. This is the second path mentioned, and this is the third path mentioned. Now that is taken into this argument length. So args dot length now will give 3. Why? Because we are specifying 3 paths to 3 different files. That is stored in the path object array, and for all these paths, you have taken a for loop because you want to access each of the paths specified, right? For that, you have taken a for loop till the paths array length, that is for 3. You are creating new instances for each of those paths and storing them in paths object array. So this path object array contains 3 objects, which indicates the 3 files that we have mentioned in the command line. Now this file status object is created, and you are dealing with 3 files here. All those 3 file statuses are stored to this status object and stored in a file status. See, then status 0 will have the status of this first file, local user. That is nothing but a directory in this case. This is not a file. So when you use this list status paths and storing all the status in status 0, the first path is status of the first path is stored. In status 1, the status of the second path mentioned is stored. In status 2, the status of the third path mentioned is stored. Now in status 0, because we are passing a directory, it has all the details about the directory. Say in the second path, we are passing the path of a file. It stores all the file status details like replication factor, owner, block size, group, file permissions, etc. Okay, so all these details are stored in the path array object. In the file status array object. Now, using this status object, which contains the statuses of all these 3 files, you are using a file utility .stat2 paths that you are storing it into listed paths so that you can directly print it onto your standard output. Okay, so this entire status is being converted into stat2 paths, and you're storing it in listed paths of the path array. Now for path P, for each of these listed paths, you're printing those paths. You're accessing each of the listed paths status, and you're printing it onto the screen. What we actually do in this program is we are trying to get the statuses of multiple files and printing all of them together by accessing each of them using for each iteration. Okay, now we can use this program to find the union of directory listings for a collection of paths. Means you are getting the union of all, combination of all the directory listings for a collection of paths. Now we are invoking this list status, that is this class you are invoking by using the Hadoop command %Hadoop list status, and you are passing this original file which will be taken into this URI, and also you want the details of all the files mentioned in this path array. This is the first path, second path, and the third path. All these paths are returned, all these paths status are returned to a status object, and they are in turn displayed on the screen. Now we can also use path filter. Path filter is the equivalent of Java IO file filter for path objects rather than file objects. So if you want to access path objects rather than file objects, then you can use this path filter. Now let us see a small program which uses a path filter for excluding paths that match a regular expression. Say in some cases you want some specific paths to be accessed and other paths to be excluded. In that case, you can create a regular expression of the paths and exclude some files. For that, here we are creating a class regular expression exclude path filter, which implements the path filter. This is its interface, okay, which contains the abstract files, abstract methods that this class implements. Okay, so it is implementing path filter, and you are creating a regular expression string, and also you are creating a constructor where it takes the regular expression that is passed as parameter to match with the path file. Again, you're trying to implement another method, public boolean accept, which accepts the parameter path and it returns all the paths which doesn't match with the regular expression. What do we mean by this line? If you want all the paths that doesn't match with the regular expression that is provided, that can be retrieved. Means if you want to omit some paths from not being accessed, you don't want their statuses. In that case, specify those paths in the regular expression. So wherever it doesn't match with this regular expression, only those paths will be taken. Now the filter passes only those files that don't match the regular expression. That is what I mentioned in the last slide. After the glob picks out an initial set of files to include, the file is used to refine the results. This glob is like a pattern which takes care of matching with the regular expressions. In this case, whatever regular expression or path we pass, whichever doesn't match with that can be filtered out. See, in this case, this example we can take fs.glob status. New path what we mentioned is this, and the regular expression we are providing is this one. New regular expression exclude filter. So wherever the file modified date say is matching with this, in that case those files are not retrieved. Other than this files, other files are retrieved, which will actually expand to this case 30th December 2007. So it will exclude all the files 31st December 2007, modified till 31st December 2007, and only extracts the file paths that are modified till 30th December 2007. Now filters can act only on a file's name, remember, as represented by a path. These filters can act only on file names. They can't use a file's properties such as creation time as the basis of the filter. Creation, you can't take these filters on creation time, but it can act only on file names. So these regular expressions are matched with the modified time of the file and takes those file names, but actual filtering is not done on this file property, that is the modified date or the creation time in this case. Now if you want to delete data, if you want to delete the data from a file system, use the delete method on file system to permanently remove files or directories. Public boolean delete, use the path, that is the file path which has to be deleted. Boolean recursive, I'll explain this in a short while. Throws IO exception. Public boolean delete, whatever is specified by this file path, that has to be deleted. Right? Now, if f is a file or an empty directory, the value of recursive is ignored. If this is a file, it is deleted, and if it is an empty directory, still this boolean recursive is ignored. But a non-empty directory is deleted along with its contents only if recursive is true. Means when this recursive is set to be true, only then a non-empty directory is deleted. But if it is set to false and the directory is empty, then it will just delete the file and return a boolean value. Boolean value in the sense, if the file is deleted, if the file is located and deleted, it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. A non-empty directory is deleted along with its contents only if this recursive is set to true. Otherwise, it will stop not deleting the directory because the directory contains some information if this recursive is set to false. So by setting this recursive to false, we can just take care that a non-empty directory is not by mistake deleted. Now in the next session, very important topics of this chapter and very important questions also. Anatomy of a file read and anatomy of a file write. How a file read and file write actually happens on a HDFS cluster. How the data nodes and the name nodes interact with each other in order to perform this file read and write in the backend. That we are going to see in the next session. So all of you have to be present for this session because it is very important and it takes more time for you to just go through the figure and understand. But if you attend the class, it will be easy for you to follow. Any doubts? Did you understand today's querying how to query the file system using file status? All are Java commands, right? They're familiar to you. Just go through once again, you will understand how to use the file status method. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, shall we end the class then? Be present for tomorrow's class, all of you. Very important content is going to be discussed.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for attending this class. We'll meet in the next lecture.
Yes, ma'am.